Welcome to the Yappy Hour, powered by Yappily, the podcast for dog lovers who want to better understand and support their canine companions. I'm your host, Nathan Dunleavy, and in today's episode, it's one that I think a lot of listeners will really relate to. We're talking about anxious and nervous dogs, how they experience the world, what we can do to support them, and how sometimes the most reactive or fearful dogs can end up teaching us the most. Joining me is Helen Motteram, behaviourist and founder of Social Paws, whose journey started with her own rescue dog called Sally. Sally wasn't an easy dog, but she changed Helen's life, and her work now helps other dog guardians navigate the emotional ups and downs of life living with a nervous pup. This is an episode full of compassion, hope and practical advice. So whether you're living with an anxious dog, thinking about adopting, or just want to better understand canine behaviour, stick around. Grab a cup of tea, settle in, and let's get started. Welcome back to the Yappy Hour, powered by Yappily. I'm your host, Nathan Dunleavy, and I'm so excited to bring you another episode of the Yappy Hour today. My host is Helen Motteram, personal friend, colleague, and mentor of mine, so I've been really looking forward to having a chat with Helen today. We're going to be talking about her dog Sally, her rescue dog that she had called Sally, which inspired Helen's whole journey into the canine industry. So I know a little bit about this story, but I'm going to be really looking forward to hearing a little bit more. So Helen, welcome to the Yappy Hour. I'm absolutely thrilled to have you on. How are you doing?
Good, really excited to be on this episode, and thank you. I'd absolutely delight to share Sally's story. You know how passionate I am about it. So yeah, thank you.
Oh, you're most welcome. Thank you for coming on. So, for those who may not know, let's start from the beginning. Tell us about Sally. How did she come into your life, and what impact did she have on you as both a personal and as a person and as a professional?
Yeah, we're always a family of dog lovers, and we had our first dog called Pally. I had her from a very, very young age. Pally sadly passed away. We decided we would like to rescue another dog. So I was later in my teenagehood when this happened. And we saw an advertisement in the local news, no Facebook back in those days, just a little ad saying friendly Jack Russell looking for a home in Cheltenham. So off we went to collect Sally, but not everything was as it seemed. It later transpired that she had been bullied by the young children in the family,
Oh,
and she had a very serious phobia of males. So bringing Sally into our life, she gravitated actually towards my dad, which was brilliant, but she was always a bit of like, she preferred the ladies, and that's completely fine. So we did a lot of work with Sally, getting her used to people gradually, building her confidence, and she was okay around other dogs. She wasn't the most sociable dog, and that was fine with us. But one day there was an absolutely terrible incident, and I still have nightmares about it, Nathan, today.
oh gosh.
Yeah, it's this dream. It's like that reoccurring dream that you just can't get out of your head.
Yes.
And I even remember where I was standing, and I had Sally on the lead with my mum, and we were in Beach's playing field. And then this dog came zooming out of nowhere, because we had Sally on the lead sometimes because the recall wasn't so great. And unfortunately, this dog attacked Sally, and it was a brutal attack. Her whole head was ripped open. I hate to sort of go into detail, gory detail.
Oh,
Prior to the nearest vet, the emergency vet, it was very, very traumatic. And after that episode, Sally then became very anxious and fearful around dogs. So we not
I'm not
only had the
surprised.
issue with people, which we'd worked really hard on, particularly males, we now had the anxiety towards other dogs. So
Yeah.
yeah, but it was an experience, one you won't forget. And I'm sure many people can relate to this, having
Yeah,
on leads and dogs running up to them, how frustrating it is. So yeah.
it is. Yeah. So did having Sally then lead you into your profession as a behaviourist then?
Yeah, so I'd always been an animal lover, like saving, random birds on the road. We set up a little nature thing called Caring for Nature, volunteered at rescues when we were younger, doing fundraising and everything. And I started kind of learning about, dog training. But back then, it wasn't like today. There was very little resources on the internet. But I've always been one which, kindness always. And I always felt that Sally was a little bit like me. Growing up, I was a very unique child. I was bullied at school, like many of us probably were. Yeah, and I was when all the kids were in the playground, they'd all be like playing together and I'd be sat on the bench on my own. Bit of a loner, even though I'm like a social butterfly. It's kind of like that. And I kind of thought, we shouldn't be shouting at her or punishing her, because me as a child, and if the teacher shouted at me, actually one of the teachers slapped me on the hand the one time, which they wouldn't be doing today.
No, you wouldn't get away with that.
No. So I kind of put my shoes in Sally's, walked in her shoes, so to speak. And I thought, well, me being a bit of an anxious, unique child who, was in this kind of strange world back then, I thought Sally's probably trapped in a similar world to me. So I could kind of relate to her.
Yeah. Wow. So I love it. It's such an inspiring story, because a lot of people that I speak to, they get into like being a dog trainer or behaviorist because they have their own sort of dog that's been through, certain sort of problems and issues. And then that inspires them to want to learn more and then want to help others. So yeah, that's great. So moving on to our next section, which is all about life with a nervous dog and lessons from Sally. Can you paint a picture for us of what Sally struggled with and how that affected her daily life or your daily life?
Yeah, so we couldn't just take Sally on a normal walk, and we were a very sociable family. We loved going to the local steam rallies. We loved going over the local park beaches. That was, our place that we loved going. And in fact, actually, Sally did make friends to another dog called Sally over the road. And so she had one friend. So
what are the chances?
a bit like me, I had one friend at school called Susie. I'm still friends with her. So Sally had one friend.
Oh, bless you.
And so we introduced them slowly. They got on so well. So we knew that Sally could get on with other dogs, but it was just she didn't like them in her face. And so as long as there was enough distance from the dogs, Sally would be fine. But as soon as they came like too close to her, didn't give her space, that's when those teeth would go up. But I always say this with Sally, silence is not always golden. So there were probably some situations back then where we were all a little bit naive, that Sally might have been overwhelmed, but because she wasn't typically the barking and lunging dog, we probably didn't think of her as a real anxious dog. Does that make sense? So
yeah.
So we got to learn about a lot about Sally, and that kind of taught me through the work today. Like a lot of the dogs I work with don't actually lunge and bark until that very last moment where they have to. They're pushed to the limits.
But, that's right.
Yeah, so Sally, with Sally, we really had to work on understanding their body language, those very subtle little things that she did. I knew, Sally's not comfortable, let's just move away. And actually, the steam fairs that we went to, so we would go to the steam fairs before we got Sally. And I've got a massive phobia of the actual steamroller things. I don't know what you call them, but that noise. She's scared going to these rallies. And so I felt a bit empowered and happy now, because I don't have to go to these anymore. I love going to the events, but I hate those steamroller things. So I could relate to Sally. I was like, oh, horrible things. So yeah.
Oh, bless. Okay. Oh, I love that she had a little friend called Sally as well. That's so cute. Oh, bless her heart. What were some of the biggest lessons that she taught you that you now pass on to your clients, Helen?
Yeah, so I think really about slowing down. I grew up, dogs must be walked every day for an hour, a big hill trip, we live in a more urban area. So when you step out the door, there's people, cars, dogs. So Sally was quite good in the car, and we would drive her up to the hills, which she was perfect on because we didn't really see many dogs. But Sally taught me that, we don't have to go on these massive long walks in areas that they're going to be uncomfortable with. The urban environment is very challenging to a lot of dogs. So we did a lot of,
Mm,
back then again, enrichment wasn't really a thing, but we still did it, but it
no.
wasn't called enrichment. So we've got a massive garden. And I remember we played loads of games with Sally, and she was like the happiest dog ever. A typical terrier as well. She loved her toys. So really just slowing down, not just slapping the lead on and collar and go, let's go for this massive long walk. Really thinking about what happens before the walk, before we get out that door, and assessing that situation and really thinking about the environment that we're walking our dogs in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and I think like you were saying about obviously, we're almost conditioned as humans that we must walk our dogs
yeah,
every day,
yeah,
twice a day. I mention that a lot in these episodes, but sometimes less is more, particularly when you've got a nervous and
yeah,
anxious dog, and doing having a day off from from walking, doing some enrichment and stuff, and I'm big on educating like clients and pet parents about understanding canine body language because, and I was chatting to someone last night about that, is that they do demonstrate those subtle signs before they do lunge
yeah,
and bark, and we often miss those, don't we?
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's so important to learn about what canine body language. It's how they communicate to us and
yeah,
other dogs. So
yeah.
brilliant. So how did your relationship with her evolve over time?
Me and Sally grew together. I grew up very confused child. I was always labelled as the naughty child that broke everything in the house. I'd be
Oh,
like, yeah. And even into teenagehood, I was still very erratic. I was moody. So growing up was very, very challenging for me. But Sally was like my best mate. I just
oh,
loved her companionship, and we also did a lot of videos together. So we've got them on the old video players. But I get them out, and I blooming cringe at myself. I'm like, oh my days, I'm like this hyper kid just jumping around. But Sally really gravitated to that energy. Like nowadays, I'm more calm and chilled around my companions, but Sally really liked that high energy from me, and we kind of grew in confidence together. So that was really cool.
oh, bless. That's lovely. I love how it's like sort of evolved and your relationship kind of, like you say, grew and you bond and that. That's really nice. I hate those old VHS recordings. I've got some. There's some my parents have got of me, and they drag them out sometimes. It's really embarrassing. So we've all got them.
Yeah, yeah.
So brilliant. So let's move on to our next section, which is all about understanding anxiety in dogs. So we've also touched on it a little bit, but what are some of the more subtle signs that a dog is feeling anxious or overwhelmed, Helen?
Yeah, so Sally was that kind of silent type, but she would kind of just do this little freeze and kind of start staring. And then she'd start doing a bit of an avoidance. She'd like randomly just do this really exaggerated sniff in the field. And that was kind of a sign, oh, we're getting a bit too close here. And obviously, if we would get close to the dog, which would be if a dog was running up to us, that's when her lip would slowly go up. And then it would
Oh yes.
just fall, and then yeah, she would go for them. That was it really. She never ever bit a dog, but it was all mouth, with Sally.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so it was that kind of like freezing, kind of like, and then I was really trying to avoid the other dog, but then it just got too much, and she just stepped up that ladder, unfortunately. Yeah, so yeah,
Yeah, I've mentioned that ladder of aggression and the escalation pyramid. It's a really good tool for people to familiarize themselves with because you may get that sort of raised lip, that lip licking,
yeah,
the blinking, the yawning. That's
yeah,
all sort of signs that a dog is, going up that ladder of aggression, as you say, and like
yeah, yeah,
their their arousal levels are increasing that, and that's when they could make
yeah.
a negative choice and they could snap and stuff like that. So it's all important. It's really important to understand those those subtle signs. What kind of everyday things can be big triggers for nervous dogs?
So the ones I tend to work with, it's mainly strange people. Mainly, it could be like a certain type of person. So I find a lot of dogs I work with are scared of cats. Today I worked with a dog that was scared of black
Oh,
widows.
cats.
Yeah,
Black. Yeah, not cats. Most of them don't like cats, do
Yeah,
they?
yeah, yeah. So really what the look of the person, what they're wearing, because sometimes if you've got a cap or glasses on, they kind of can't read you as well. I work with a lot of dogs that are fearful of traffic, particularly
Mm.
those horrible buses that come along, and oh my day, the bin men, oh my God, yeah. Oh, it's like the nemesis of, it seems like they're the nemesis of every dog. And my birds as well, they hate bin day. You can hear them outside.
Yeah,
Like, ah.
you can.
Yeah, and then like I would say, there's these dogs that are environmentally reactive. I don't really like the word reactive in general, so I say
I
environmentally
know.
sensitive. And I kind of
Yeah,
step out. It seems like they're overconsumed by everything. So everything becomes a trigger, and they're the most toughest dogs to work with because it's kind of
yeah,
generalized. They may have started with fearing people or dogs, but now the environment becomes kind of like, yeah, that's what's going to happen. We're going to see a dog or a person, so I'm going to step out the door, and I'm already thinking about that negative experience. So they're really hard to work with, those kind of dogs, but they can get better. So there's always.
yes, they can. When I was doing in-person puppy classes, and obviously you have that key socialization period, like between 8 and 12, 8 and 16 weeks, or what you call their key sensitive period. I'd say to a lot of my puppy owners, because not a lot of people really understand what socialization meant, and it didn't mean just bombarding them with loads of dogs, but
Yeah,
basically to meet different people with caps on,
yeah,
glasses,
yeah,
sunglasses, different hairstyles,
yeah,
tall people, small people, just people with beards, just meeting all those different people. I said it's really important that your puppy gets used to those different sort of novel, like people really, and
yeah,
people with umbrellas and walking sticks, so they don't develop a fear later on.
yeah.
Yeah, and also at the moment, my poodles are taking turns of jumping up on my lap. So for people that are watching this, they can see that a different colour poodle every
Oh,
so often. So my poodles do make an appearance on the Yappy Hour. Because one of mine's got SA, as you know, so he's often up or down, but they're sort of all taking turns. But this particular one I've got me at the moment, she doesn't like the bin man, but she doesn't like it when I bring the bin back in.
oh
Like
no,
if I'm bringing the bin back into the garden, she goes absolutely
oh,
nuts.
oh, no.
And I'm like, oh, it's okay, it's just a bin. And
Yeah,
but to the her, it's loud and it's scary
yeah,
and stuff. So
yeah,
yeah, I know what you mean about the bin men.
yeah, yeah.
Brilliant. So, why do you think that anxious or nervous behaviour is still so misunderstood by the general public, Helen?
I think, I mean, I grew up in a culture of, just get on with it. Yeah. Get your dog out there,
Mm,
get them on it, tough love and all that. And I think
yeah.
that still resonates today. I think it's, again, some of these dogs where the silence is not always golden. People think the dog's quiet, so they're okay. I always get that, oh,
Mm,
yeah, when we walk the dog with loads of people around, it doesn't do anything. I'm like, that's probably because it's shut down and it's completely overwhelmed. So I think it's just not understanding the type of anxious or nervous dogs. There's lots of different types. You've got the ones that go and howl for
mm,
leather, screaming, and then you've got these really sensitive ones, a bit like me when I was sat, on the bench in the school playground. I was very sensitive and quiet. I wasn't making a big fuss, but the teachers found that, they found it was not right. I needed to be socializing with the other children. And they encouraged
mm.
me to do that, even when I was also had a phobia, many phobias. I think I'm worse than the anxious dogs, dressed,
Oh,
dressed at people. So they used to have Santa and he used to come round the school. And the teacher forced me to see Santa. And I was very quiet. I said, I don't like Santa. Didn't kick up a fuss, but then it got to the stage where I did kick up a fuss, and
I don't blame you.
yeah. So I think people don't realise until these dogs are pushed to their limits, and once they're barking and lunging, that's when they kind of take action. But they really need to
Yeah,
take an action when they see these more subtle signs. Don't ignore them. Don't ignore that smoke alarm when it's happening, because
yeah.
that is the main thing that we've got to be looking out for.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I do know some like kids that are scared of Santa. You wouldn't want to force your kid upon them, would you? Like you wouldn't force your dog into a situation. But I think back then, like you say, things were a bit more sort of regimented, and we've come round to more of a more kinder, ethical way of thinking,
Yeah. Goodness. Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
which is good. But yeah, I think it's all about just sort of helping educate them more as well, isn't it? In terms
Yeah,
of
yeah,
helping them understand. And I'm very much about like read the dog that's in front of you and stuff. So,
exactly.
and we
Yeah.
yeah. So our next section is all around helping our anxious and nervous dogs thrive. When do you usually start when helping a client with a nervous? No, sorry, where do you usually start when
Yeah.
helping a client with a nervous dog?
Yeah, so I usually start within the home environment, but obviously because I could be the thing that they are scared of, I often can't
Mm,
get too close to the dog. So often it involves quite a lot of role play. We might do a Zoom before, I might just meet the guardians on their own, which sounds a bit strange, but I can't help a dog that's scared to be in my presence. That to me is unethical, you
exactly.
know. So I start by teaching them about the walk. It's not just a walk. Think of it like a marathon. So what do we do before we do a marathon? I'm doing a marathon this Sunday. Sorry, I talk about running a lot because that's what I
No, I
love.
know you love running. Good for you. I mean, fair play. I couldn't do it. I did a 10-mile run once. It nearly killed me off. So
It's a long way, but yeah. So before you did your 10 mile, Nathan, you wouldn't have just, walked out your door and started running 10 miles. You may have like
um,
had some stretches.
I mean, there was no chance. I mean, this was the Great South Run, so that was in the October. And as a team, a work team, we started training in the January or February of that year
Yeah,
and building up to that. And I hadn't ever ran in my life.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so it is about that building up to it, those warm ups, those gentle stretches. And when I'm on a long run as well, there could be trigger points, there could be the floodgates opening at certain points of the race. So I like to think it's not just a walk, it's an interactive experience. It's got to be one that's enjoyed, but really, really slowed down. So when I start working with anxious dogs, I introduce them to cone work. So very, very simple. Did it today with dog. Amazing, absolutely amazing. And usually this dog will bark and lunge at people because we started with the cones. We did it really steady. I was at a real sufficient distance. So basically putting the cones down, putting the treats on to create a positive association. The dog then does the behaviour, outlet of sniffing, takes the mind off seeing the human being, but also creates that positive association. And I know I go on
Mm,
about this, Nathan, but I liken to it I've got bad ears. I've had bad ears since a child, and I lost my hearing in Ibiza. When I was on a plane when I
yeah.
was younger, Mum used to give me those boiled sweets. And
Yes.
they used to make me feel better. It would help with the popping, but it wasn't quite enough. So mum would give me a doodle pad and I'd be scribbling away because I was given an outlet, something to do, and I was given that nice association. I was able to take my mind off the plane. So, allowing the dog to do that kind of enrichment, that focus work, the nose to the ground, really helps, with the work with people rather than the dog coming out, oh, let's give it food when it sees the person. Sometimes that's not enough. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I'm loving your analogies and how you compare it all with stuff for humans and that. But I know you've had problems with your ears, bless you. And also just want to say like hats off to you for your running. You do lots of marathons and marathon. You've gone all around Europe and stuff, and you obviously your fundraising, which we'll come on to later, for your rescue work that you do. But it takes so much resilience and strength, and you're an inspiration that you keep on doing it. And I don't know how you get through it, so hats off to you.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know. Yeah, yeah. But it's like everything you build up to it. I wouldn't have just started, running straight away. I built up to it. So a bit like I am
Exactly.
naturally, I'm a very confident person, but I can get quite anxious in new situations. So
Mm,
deep end just doesn't work. So again with Sally, we never threw her in the deep end. It was slow steps, and that's why we're saying to
yeah.
the guardians, take it slowly. I know
Mm,
we haven't got all the time in the world, but we do have a lot of time. And the slower you take it, the better results you're going to get, rather than trying to rush it all. And then you're back to square
mm.
one again. So just slowing down is always the best advice I can
Yeah.
give as well.
Yeah, I think that's so important, and it goes back to sort of like less is more and working with the dog in front of you. And I've mentioned in these episodes previously that we need to be our dog superhero.
Yeah.
We need to advocate for them because no one else will. So no, I love that. Helen, what role does choice and agency play in reducing anxiety?
I think it's so important to give dogs a choice, but I think where guardians fall down on this is the dogs don't literally speak. So how can we how can we ask for their consent? It's so we must learn from them what they wish to do, with their body
Mm,
language. They do speak to us in many ways, but that
mm,
takes time. But yeah, choice-based learning is so, so important to me. I do it with my birds. I just don't dive straight in with the training with them. I always give them the option to move away. We've got to give the dogs that option. They're not robots. It's more than just training a dog. There's a lot of the emotional stuff that's going on, and we must take this into account because at school, again, I wasn't given a choice. You meet Santa or you don't. Sorry, you meet Santa and that's it. And to not be given that choice, I still quiver today when I see Santa in the high street.
really? Oh, bless your heart.
And
That trauma stuck with you.
yeah, I'm a big fan of fancy dress,
You are.
which is really odd. But if Tristan walked in the house tonight dressed as Father Christmas, I know that would be really random. It would. I have this. It's like,
I wouldn't put it past him.
yeah, I have this like butterflies, and then I feel sick, and then I can't eat. It's really, really bizarre, and that's how the dogs must be feeling because a lot of them won't eat
Yeah,
when they're stressed. So just like how I
yeah.
felt.
And well, I was saying to someone last night that trauma does sometimes they don't get over that trauma, do they? It sticks with them, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, brilliant. So, how do you have a success story from your work that really stands out, or would it be just sort of the successes that you've had with Sally?
I mean, I've been doing this a long time now. There's been,
You have.
yeah. So over the years, it's just so empowering seeing the guardian become much more confident. So I always say it's more mentoring for the dog guardian. I had a recent case actually with a dog in Chalton Kings, and the dog just wouldn't walk at all. And her aim was just to get to the local field, which a lot of people would say that's not a very big aim. It was just across the road, but it was literally like the hardest thing to get to that field. So I worked with her for a longer term period. And this dog went from a dog that couldn't even get out of the house. It literally was lunging and barking at everything. Um,
Mm,
Even if someone came in the road from a sufficient distance or a car came down the road. But we got to the stage where she was able to take it across the local field. This dog loved other dogs, you see. It was just people and cars. To the stage where she was able to get over to the local field, and the dog was absolutely, it was just amazing. But we had to really start slow. The comb work, the enrichment, the free work, the warm up before the walk, slowly extending that area. It wasn't, oh, let's go out the door, let's get to the park now. But
mm,
she was a really amazing client as well. She understood her dog's needs. She was very good at understanding the dog's body language as well. And the one thing that the dog really loved was, I don't know if you've seen it, the snuffle mats?
yeah, yeah.
It's a snuffle ball. I don't know if you've seen them.
Yes.
They're,
No, I know Snuffle Ball, yeah.
this dog absolutely loved it. So we used that a lot in the behavioural therapy, and the dog came on leaps and bounds. And
Oh,
one of my mum's friends the other day, because she referred me her, she said, oh, "You never guess who I saw in the park the other day? It's a miracle." I'm like, yes, it is. It's like a miracle, really, when that happens. So it is really nice when you get success stories like that. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it must be really lovely and rewarding to get success stories when you see the difference and the change in the dog. And what I loved there is that word behavioural therapy. I'm not sure if
Yeah.
I've heard that before. I really like that sort
Oh,
of
thank you.
that word.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So moving on to our next section, which is all about supporting the guardians and pet parents. So you work closely with a lot of dog guardians who feel like they're getting it all wrong. What would you say to someone who feels like they're failing their anxious or nervous dog, Helen?
I try and walk in their shoes and relate back to my journey of how There's been a lot of ups and downs in my life with Sally and my own birds. I recently rescued a raven. And to be honest, Nathan, the first 2 weeks was hell on earth. I wanted to give up. I cried every day. Didn't tell anyone this.
Oh,
So it's kind of walking in their shoes, telling them about how you've been through this journey, but all trying to relate back to that reflective storytelling, giving human examples. So I always bring, Sally into the story, and then I bring Buddy into the story, and they're like, oh, a raven, how did you train a raven? I was like, oh, it don't even start. And they kind of then, it makes the relationship a lot easier. And I said they don't need to feel guilty. They've not let their dog down. And I say they've just got to go easy on them. And actually, when I say to them, you don't have to walk your dog 2-3 times a day, you can miss that walk, they suddenly go, the first time you see them breathe. And
I know.
yeah, and you're like,
Yeah.
and they're like, no one's ever told me that before.
No.
People, not all dog trainers will, but it's really important. And and it's an emotional journey. And us as pet professionals, we've kind of walked that journey with a lot of our companions, feel their pain, but we've got to give them hope. We've got to give them mini wins. It's no point me going,
Yeah.
oh, it's going to take another 6 years, because that's no good. But it's going to take a while, but it shouldn't take forever. You're going to have some mini wins, but don't expect
Yeah.
your dog to be the most sociable dog on the planet. What is
Yeah.
the baseline? What one little thing would you like to start with? And they'll be like, oh, I just want to walk opposite side to the road with another dog. I'm like, great, that's doable in some situations. So we start at that a very small baseline, and it's those mini wins. So complimenting, because that's what we like to know we're doing well. So if
Yeah.
we could just give them one positive thing for that session, and that's going to stick with them. And I think that's really important, motivation and inspiration.
Yeah. Yeah, positive reinforcement is good for the owner as well as it's
Yeah,
good for the human as well as the dog.
definitely.
And I'm very big on, I used to, all about celebrating the small wins, the small
Yeah,
successes. You have to
yeah,
celebrate the small wins. If it seems like you've got, a way to go, you have to celebrate those successes and shout about them. And what we mentioned earlier is I said that people were so programmed as humans that we must walk our dogs twice a day for an hour each day. But if you've got a nervous dog and something's happened, it's okay to take the next day off,
exactly.
and they're like, oh my God, I thought I had to walk them. I said, no, you don't have to. I said, if anything, it's the worst thing you can do. And the best thing for that dog, setting them up for success, is give them the day off. Like, have 1 or 2 non-walk days and
Yeah,
do some brain work and sniffy games to help bring like their arousal. Just give them that chance for those arousal levels to go down, that decompression time. And they're like,
yeah,
oh, okay. But again, it comes back to, and I've said this a lot in these episodes, that people, we don't know what we don't know, do we? So until you're
yeah,
told and educated,
yeah, yeah.
brilliant. So why is it so important for people to hear you're not alone in this journey, Helen?
I think the world can be a very lonely place. We're overconsumed nowadays with social media. We read so much on the internet, do this, don't do that. So to have a cheerleader in your corner, someone who can quite literally hold your hand and be there for your journey, is the most inspirational thing. I've got a lot of friends in this world, I've got a lot of connections, but there are certain people who I will reach out to. I've got a really good friend who I reached out today because I was having a bit of a stressful day. And it's
Oh,
just nice to have someone on a very similar journey who understands what you're going through. The world can be a very, very lonely place, and I think community is so important. So if you're sat here watching and you're feeling a bit lonely, reach out to your dog friendly community. Even if you've got an anxious dog, you can still hang out with the other dog guardians. It might be that there might be a dog friendly cafe, but you might not be able to go with your dog, but you can still meet like minded dog guardians, local events, and kind of like a meetup where you're hanging around with people in a very, very similar situation. So lean on your cheerleaders. Don't be afraid to approach people and open up. As you know, Nathan, I open up a lot on my personal profile. I'm not afraid to do so because I
So
know,
do I.
yeah, maybe
I'm
I
not afraid either.
a bit too much sometimes, but I think it's important to let people in. And if I always find it hard when people are more quiet because they're the hardest people to let in and they're the hardest people to help. So if people can tell us what's going on, then we can offer, we can extend our hand. But if we don't know, we don't know. It's really hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm an open book like you, so I do share my struggles and my wins, and it's important to have someone in a support network to lean upon. So yeah, that's really good that you've got that as well. And I'm sorry you've had a stressful day today, and I appreciate you still coming on.
Yeah.
I've just got a few final questions before we start wrapping up this episode. We've literally sailed through it and it's been packed with so much useful information. It's been so lovely to hear about your story with Sally. Helen, if there's one thing you wish all dog guardians, pet parents understood about anxiety, what would it be?
You just need to slow down. Yeah.
Yeah,
No rush, no rush at all.
yeah.
I
Take it slow.
take it slowly. I am one, I still have that old mindset that I want everything achieved today. That's what I'm like, but I need to remind myself just slow down, take a step back, and yeah, give distance and time really. And it's all about slowing down.
Yeah, love that. Sure, there's a song by someone about distance and time as well. I'll get it wrong though, but I love that distance and time, and yeah, slow it down. Brilliant. For someone who's just brought home a nervous, anxious rescue dog and doesn't know where to start, what would be your advice, Helen?
So there are some useful channels. So if you got the dog from a rescue centre, then of course there will be hopefully behavioural consultants there or trainers who can give you that foundation knowledge. Try and find out as much history about your new companion as possible, particularly if there's any health issues going on. A lot of dogs I see have got health issues and pain related issues. Buddy our Raven, we didn't get the right clinical history for him and he nearly died. Yeah, this is going back last year. And his
Yeah, I remember.
is related to his pain and his old injury. So try and get as much history as possible. And then I would always say it's good to invest in an expert, but do your research, make sure they're the right person for you. So the proper accreditations, the organisations, and have a read about them on their website. Are they the type of person you gravitate to? Not everybody's going to like me. I'm quite quirky and quite unique. But if you have a read of their about page, find out about their story. Most people approach me because they've read about Sally's story and they say, I've got a dog like Sally. So you really need a mentor, someone who's going to hold your hand, but you need to research up. And if money is an issue, some trainers and behaviourists will offer certain programs, some offer discounts for various reasons, and some you can claim back on your insurance. But if you can, do put some money aside. If you especially if you're looking to get a companion, they're not cheap. Yeah, vet bills, training bills, all the equipment, holidays away, who's going to be the pet sitter, dog walker. There's so much to consider, and sometimes we do rush into it. I know when we saw the advertisement with Sally, we didn't consider a lot back then, and so just digest everything before you look to go to rehome or rescue a dog, which is the most incredible thing to do. But do your research and make sure you've got that cheerleader in your corner.
Yeah, I love that. Cheerleader in your corner or in your pocket. And yeah, like you say, not everyone will be your cup of tea, but it's important to do your research. And I love that. I love your quirkiness and your uniqueness. So, but yeah, do read up on. And obviously, Sally's story did relate to some people, and I think it makes you a bit more personable as well because you've gone through sort of similar struggles and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why I wanted to help people with SA because I've been through it and I can relate to it. Brilliant. So we're going to spend sort of like the last 5 or so minutes just wrapping up this episode. But I just wanted to talk to you about some of your other work that you do, Helen, because you've a bit like me, you've got a couple of strings to your bow,
Yeah.
and we have spoken about the birds already. So I want to make sure I get it right. But you are a corvid behaviourist, aren't you? So a bird
There,
behaviourist?
yeah, there's no such thing as a COVID behaviourist in the industry yet. So I'm going for my full membership and I'm applying for avian behaviourist and canine behaviourist.
Yeah.
There are very few avian behaviourists, but I call myself a Corvid specialist because,
Ah, that's
yeah.
it.
So Corvid is the family name for crows, jackdaws, ravens, etc. And they are very, very intelligent birds. And they do. You can have some as companions. So ravens, unfortunately, you can buy them as pets, which
Oh, right.
I'm
Yeah.
not really for that because they don't make great pets. And there will be people probably a few miles from you who've got a magpie or a crow. You won't know about it because they don't really publicize it. Often they rescue them because they're disabled, but I think it's so important that with the more exotic species that they have the right advice. Otherwise, what they do is they let them go, and that bird is killed, and it's such a
Mm.
sad situation. So I want to be here to offer the right advice, and basically they've got the bird now, so we can't take that back. But I want to make sure that they get the next 40 years of living with that raven right, because it's a long bloody time and a long journey. So yeah.
Yeah. And you rescue birds. You run a bird rescue, don't you? So just tell
Yeah.
our listeners a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Russell's Rescue is founded. It will be nine years this year.
Oh, wow.
From Russell Crowe, who was our rook, who we thought was a crow. I won't go into that because that's another story for another day. So he helped found our rescue. Sadly, he's not with us anymore, so I got a little tattoo to remember him. And we're going to
Yeah.
get another tattoo of our other raven who passed away this month, because that would have been Glenn's gotcha day as well. So we like to remember our birds. So it started off at a rescue centre, but now it's a lot more. So now we help train birds, we help, behavioural therapy, we train vets. We
Mm.
go out and do assessments on birds that are in captivity. So we've not only got Russell's Rescue, I've got Flock with Helen, which is my coaching, and Glenn's Feathered Encounters, which is like the experiences. So we talk about Buddy's journey and how we've helped rehab him. So it's very interesting, but very unique and very stressful at the moment. But yeah.
Oh. Oh, I find it fascinating. And your other bow is through the Pet Professional Network, PPN,
Yeah.
which is how we met. And obviously, your mentoring. Obviously,
Yeah.
you've been pivotal in my journey as a pet
Yeah.
professional, and obviously, me launching my own mentoring was because of you. So we can thank Helen for that. But yeah, you've got PPN. So just that's a community of pet professionals across the world. So just quickly touch on that if that's okay.
Yeah, so PPN has been going, it will be, I think, 9 years this year. I'll double check on that. It's quite a while now. I founded this because I got to the point in my business where I was totally full up. I was earning a lot of money, but I wasn't getting much downtime. So I started to relook at it, and I didn't want to be burnt out. So I set up a support group on Facebook to help with that element and kind of be with my peers and go, hey guys, are you experiencing some of the things I'm experiencing? And then I was bullied by a certain individual. I won't go into that too much. And I felt like I was taken out from certain groups. I actually confronted the person, had a chat with them, but that didn't make a difference. I just distanced myself, and so I thought, well, that's it. If I've been taken out of another group, I'll just set up my own group. So that's what I
Mm.
did. So I set up a group, Pet Professional Business Support. And then someone messaged me one day and they said, oh, why don't you create a membership? I was like, okay. And then I spoke to my mentor at the time, Robin Way, and I said, oh, someone mentioned membership. And I said, I have got like 20 years of resources behind me and all this stuff I've been writing. And I did find, Nathan, that people kept messaging me every day for advice. And I didn't mind that at the time, but it kind of became my full-time job. So I was giving everyone all this business advice. I was like, hang on a minute, I can put this in a unique platform. So I had the mentoring session with Robin, and then got home. Would you like a membership? And within, I think it was 4 weeks, 50 members. And we didn't even
Wow,
website, no
I
website
love
at
that.
all. And I see this no website was coming. I was like, I got a membership off a Facebook group. But then obviously we set up it as an official organisation, registered it as a limited company, all that jazz.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a really nice place. It's like a networking community where you can feel safe and be with like-minded people because, as I said before, can be pretty lonely, can it? So.
Yeah. And you also mentor other pet professionals, don't you,
Yeah,
Helen?
yeah. So I love that element. I love I've never been one for group stuff. I enjoy the Zoom elements, but I love that one-to-one element, really understanding the person behind the business and really pushing them to follow their dreams. I know it sounds corny, Nathan, but everyone's got that big idea. My big idea was PPN, but without Robin saying, do it, I'd still be
Mm,
probably stuck where I'm, like it would have never happened. And obviously, I
yeah.
love social pause and doing that work, but this gave me another element and another side that I really, really enjoy mentoring people as well as working with the animals. So I got the best of both worlds. I've got the mentoring and I got the animals as well. So I absolutely love it. So, yeah.
Brilliant. So I'm a proud platinum member of PPN, having been through your mentoring program, also an admin team member of PPN. And then one of my businesses, the Dog Walking Business Mentor Limited, is a proud affiliate member of PPN as well as your sort of
Yeah.
dog walking business mentor. So yeah, I love the collaboration that we have going on there, and it's been lovely working with you
Thank
and
you.
continue working with you. Helen, thank you so much for just sharing some of your story. I knew bits and pieces, but it's just been really interesting to hear more about your journey,
Thank you.
Sally, Social Pause. How can our listeners find out more about you and learn about Social Pause? You're based in Cheltenham, aren't you?
Yeah, so we've got a Facebook page called Social Pause. We've got a website. If you type in Social Pause or Social Pause Cheltenham, we will come up. So predominantly, I don't take on many clients, usually about 2 new clients a month. But Tristan does rehabilitation walks in the day, so he is full up, but occasionally we have the odd slot. And then I have my main website, which is helenmotteram.com. So that's for anything if you fancy me doing a speaking slot about animal behaviour or my mentoring side. I do travel around doing bits of networking and bits and pieces there. So that's kind of like Helen Motteram as me. And then you've got Social Pause as both me and Tristan.
Brilliant. Thank you. Helen Motteram, thank you so much for joining me on the Yappy Hour powered by Yappily. It's been great having you on. I was really looking forward to getting this episode together with you. So
Thank
thank you so much for your time, and we will chat again soon.
you, Nathan.
Thank you. What an inspiring and heartfelt chat with Helen Motteram. Here are some key takeaways from today's episode. Number 1. Anxious dogs aren't bad dogs. They're doing their best to cope with the world. Anxiety can look like barking, hiding, shutting down, or reactivity. It's a response, not choice. Number 2. Supporting them starts with understanding. Building trust, offering choice, and working at the dog's pace creates the foundation for growth. Number 3. Your dog's journey might look different, and that's okay. Forget comparison, focus on your dog, your progress, and the bond that you're building together. Number 4. You are not alone. Many dog guardians are going through similar struggles. There is help, support, and hope. Helen, thank you so much for joining me and sharing both your personal and professional experience today. And to all our listeners, if you want to learn more about Helen's work or connect with her, check out Social Pause Cheltenham. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review, share it with a fellow dog guardian, and subscribe so you never miss an episode of the Yappy Hour. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.